You're sent on a mission to go find a billionaire called Edward Puffton and his family Virginia and Barbara. All of this takes place on a remote island, but what you don't know is this island is filled with mutants and cannibals. I spent 24 hours in Sons of the Forest, and this is how it went. Our helicopter gets shot down, and me and Kelvin here get washed up on a beach. He's pretty dazed, in fact he can't hear or speak, but I snap him out of it and tell him to go gather some things. Being the derpy friendly guy he is, he happily agrees, and I go and loot these boxes. I find some pretty important materials like duct tape, tarp, a motherfucking solar panel, and most importantly of all, drugs. Just to prove that he gives no shits, my character straight up eats the drugs. And now I would slowly regenerate health. Now all the hard shit was kicking in, I started crafting up some basic weapons like this spear. Maybe it was the drugs, but I felt the need to stab this seagull, take his feathers, and skin him for his meat. Kelvin proved to be extremely useful at the start of the game, gathering up a ton of sticks, and this helped me make a fire. Now my survival chances were severely increased, I started cooking up some meat. Kelvin gave me another stack of sticks, and then I decided to tell him to gather up some logs. He was of course 100% compliant. Whilst eating my first meal, I realised maybe I wasn't actually that fucked. But to enforce that theory, I wanted to make myself a hunting shelter. This would actually give me a place to sleep, and for the less educated out there, this is actually essential for basic human survival. I made my first save, and then I felt safe enough to head into the first village. I saw this creepy skinny guy on the way there, and then I also saw this creepy tied up skinny guy. I decided to put him out of his misery. I rummaged the village for more materials, but what I was really looking for was this rope. This would allow me to craft a bow, and now I'd actually be able to fight from range. Just in time too, because this guy did not like me rummaging through his things. I made a fire and put his body on it, and no, I'm not psychotic, this actually does have a functional use. I could use his bones. That doesn't sound any better, but I could make armor out of it, which still doesn't sound that good. I domed this skinny bitch with the precision of Legolas, and then there was suddenly a 7-foot man with a funky golden mask running at me. He was also wielding a fucking boat motor as a weapon. He took 4 arrows until he finally died. I don't know what that mask is made out of, but it's stronger than my stone arrows. After that small-scale massacre, I decided to go to sleep for the night. I say the night, but I woke up at the crack of 3 AM. 3 AM or not, I was not at my base, and I wanted to change that, so I ran straight home and fell asleep again. I woke up bright and early the next morning, ready to be extremely productive. Kelvin, as always, was ready for whatever I wanted to ask him, and that was to fill up this newly made log storage with logs. I started construction on a basic small base. But Kelvin decided pretty quickly that he needed a rest. Without Kelvin's help, this would be a lot harder. I started to get hungry, so I cooked up another meal, then I looked to my right and Kelvin decided to not gather logs, but rather to roleplay as a log. I wanted to give him another job, but he told me to f*** right off because he's tired. Unfortunately now, I would have to muster up the decency to take responsibility for my own survival, and stop relying on a deaf and mute man to do it for me. I went to the local river to get a sip of water and probably a bacterial infection, and then I continued construction on my base. One of the cannibals got a little too close to my base, so I decided to put an arrow in his head, and then I slept for the night. Things were getting a little bit slow and grindy. I wanted to change of pace, so I headed into one of these caves. I'm not gonna lie, this was mildly scary. The caves in Sons of the Forest are the most dangerous areas in the game. Not only are they filled with mutants and cannibals, they are also near pitch black, and without a lighter, you cannot see anything. Regardless of the inevitable danger, I had to press on, mostly because this game requires you to explore these caves. Tiptoeing through these wide dark hallways, it always feels like you're being watched, and that's mostly because you are. It didn't take long for me to get attacked by one of these creepy looking dudes, and to be completely honest, I know there's much worse down here, and this guy was kind of a pushover. But then I ran into one of these guys. This is called a fingers, mostly because of the hundreds of fingers on the front of his torso and face. Whilst being the embodiment of nightmare fuel, these guys also hit extremely hard. I did what I knew best and chugged some more drugs before going back for round 2. Luckily, if you've got the spear in this fight, it makes this about as difficult as a Pokemon battle. I got to the end of the cave where there was this clearing and a pool in the middle. This pool contained a shark, so I domed it twice. Here at the end of the cave I also got the rebreather. I swam into the water and out of the cave, and then I got blinded by the sunlight. Immediately coming out of the cave I started working on my base again. I domed these 2 cannibals, and after a little bit more work, the base started coming together. I had spent a lot of time very close to my base and decided to actually go out and explore some of the forest. I followed something on my map and eventually my GPS locator started beeping like shit. It was beeping because this guy was caught up here, he had a GPS locator on him, and he also had a flashlight. This would actually come in quite useful later on in the playthrough. Anyways, I decided to go find another cave, but this wasn't just a normal cave. This cave gave me access to an underground facility. To my current knowledge, this facility spreads across the whole island underground, and more importantly, is packed with extremely useful things and tools. Like this fucking 3D printer. I printed up a flask, a weird creepy red mask, some arrows, and also something called a tech mesh, which would allow me to make tech armor, which was actually pretty damn good. Regardless of that, I needed a keycard to get any further through this underground facility. I decided to just leave and come back later. Kelvin caught up with me, so we decided to chill by the fire for a little while until we ran into this cannibal camp. I was minding my own business, smashing up their shit until I got jump scared. He decided to do a hit and run, so I chased him down along with the rest of the cannibals that were in the camp, and contrary to that massacre, look at this beautiful waterfall. I decided to take a sip out of this not so clean waterfall. I explored some more and found another cave entrance. Once again, this was no normal cave, this had another entrance to that facility I just went into. Except this one had a big scary metal trap door. I looked around for a little while and then realised I would need the keycard to get any further through this place, so I left basically immediately. I stumbled across another one of these cannibal camps, but this guy was pretty tough. I'm also pretty sure this is the most cannibals I fought at one time, so it took some careful strategic movement and a lot of headshots. I got pretty fucked up by these guys, so I decided to fill my armor bar back up with this cool looking tech armor. I looked around the camp for a little bit longer and found this thing. This is a Night 5 or whatever the fuck it's called. It's basically a little mini bike. Safe to say this was a lot faster than running and also a lot more fun. Because of the motherfucking skateboard I was riding and along with the frame drops, it felt like I was playing Skate 3 again. After a lot of frame drops, I eventually returned back to the base. Not without a few stumbles though. I reset back at the base and then headed straight back out because this thing was way too much fun. I was straight up trolling these cannibals, just doing flips and turns, and then this guy booted me off of it because he didn't like me. While this definitely wasn't productive or safe, it was a lot of fun. I was straight up just gliding over all of them, just taking the piss out of them. I was genuinely laughing. Until this guy booted me off of it again. I eventually got his message, took one last victory glide, and then just rode off into the distance. I rode around for a little bit longer, literally just having fun on it, until I came across this very, very special camp. Not only was it packed with supplies, it also had the modern axe. This was an insane upgrade, and as you can see, I was pretty damn happy about it. This would make me a lot stronger when fighting cannibals and mutants. It'd also make chopping down trees for my base a lot easier. I went to sleep, woke up in the middle of the night, and rode home on my mini bike. I parked it carefully next to my hunting shelter, and was very clearly happy about my new shiny axe. I didn't really know what else to do other than save the game. I did not want to lose any of this.